Hey guys, this is another video on lanolizing wool or re-lanolizing wool and reintroducing lanolin into your wool. I'm just going to talk about this first and then I'm going to show you some stuff here. One of my family members has got a brand new pair of extreme weather flyers mitts, and so I'm reintroducing lanolin into the inner mitt, okay, that buttons in. You know, the thing is everybody says wool is still warm when wet. Well, the thing is when a sheep is out in the field and it's pouring down rain, the sheep's not getting wet. And his wool isn't absorbing all that water. Why? Because he has greasy hair. He's like that kid that never washed his hair when he was, when he was little. Okay? He never washed his hair in the shower for some reason. He was the kid who always had the greasy hair. Well, I guarantee you that kid probably never had wet hair. So the thing about lanolin is that it keeps water from getting into the wool. Do you follow me? So sheep's wool has lanolin in it naturally, and it repels water, and it keeps water from soaking into the wool. So that's the reason why, if you watched the series that I did before on wool and lanolizing, I was talking about reintroducing lanolin into my jumpers, my sweaters, okay? And the reason why is because then when there's a heavy precipitation, light rain or even heavy rain or whatever, I mean, the wool doesn't want to absorb it. It's hydrophobic, okay? So reintroducing pure lanolin into your wool is good, because not only does it make it to where it doesn't want to absorb water, it still keeps that insulating properties that everybody loves, and it's also more fire resistant. I did a video, somebody asked me about that last year. I got some pure lanolin and I lit a lighter and I put it on there and it didn't burn. So I mean, the thing is that it makes it even more, your wool products, it makes them more waterproofed, okay, and also more fire resistant. Okay, so that's the whole purpose. So this inner mitt right here, so I'm going to reintroduce lanolin in here, because when wool is processed, they want to get all the dirt and the twigs and everything out of the wool. Maybe the sheep was rolling around for fun on the ground and he got all this crap in his wool, and they're trying to just scour that wool and get all that stuff out of there, right? Because you don't want that next to your skin. So when they do that, it's just like putting your hands in hot water with, Dawn detergent or something like that to get the grease off your hands. You're actually removing the lanolin from the wool. So and then of course it makes it nice and everything, right? Gets all the dirt out, gets all the pieces of farm debris and everything out. But the thing is now you lost that lanolin, and it's less hydrophobic. It's less water resistant, okay? So what we got to do is we got to put that back in. Right? So what I like to do, I went through a few different methods, but this is my favorite method, and this works the best, is take one hand and get a bunch of lanolin on your hand. Just, if you're allergic to lanolin, don't do this to your wool, okay? I mean, you probably won't even use wool if you're allergic to lanolin because you're scared of it or something. And you probably ran to alpaca. Okay, some people will do that. They'll run over to alpaca because they're allergic to lanolin. I don't blame them, because if you're having a problem, you're breaking out or whatever. Some people could consider being allergic to wool because of it's slightly itchy or scratchy or whatever. That's not an allergy. You're not allergic to it. It's just scratchy. Okay. Actually, reintroducing lanolin makes wool less scratchy. A breakout, okay, from lanolin, you know, your skin breaks out in a rash and all that, then you're allergic. So what I like to do is I like to kind of warm up the wool a little bit. If I can hit my hand with the heat, then it's okay for the wool. You don't want to get it too close. Alright. I generally will heat up the wool or lanolin in my tub, okay, that I'm working with, and then I'll get some in there on my hands, and I'll just move it around in my hand, and then I just pat it all everywhere on whatever I'm working on, and then I will start moving it into the wool with the heat. So I put a little heat and I just squeeze it here and there, and then it just soaks right back into the wool. So it's welcoming the lanolin back home into the wool fibers that are in here. This is hair, okay? So I mean, this is wool hair. You know, this is like this sheep. Obviously, you know, he's like he got his fur coat taken, and now we're using it. So, but anyway. So we'll go ahead and we'll do some of this, and then I'll cut off. But this is how you do it, you know. See, I already did one, so you can see the lanolin on my hand. Hopefully, a little bit of a sheen there. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn this on high and get this kind of in here and get it soft. You know, you want to get that lanolin kind of soft. Get it kind of liquidy, not all liquidy, but you want to kind of soften it up, you know. So everything needs to be nice and warm. I'm going back to medium. You see that? So I'm going to just kind of work this into my wool, alright? So just kind of squeeze it a little bit here and there, and it will go in. Bit of lanolin there, so it may take you a few minutes to get it worked back in. But even as you wear your mitts or your gloves, okay, your body heat will actually, if there's any excess lanolin on the outside of the mitt or the glove, then it will work itself into the fibers, the wool fibers, okay? You see that? See how it's nice. It's going back in there. You could get extreme and do this, turn it inside out, and do that side too, but it's not really necessary. This is the side that's going to really encounter the most wetness, is this outside of the mitt. And another thing too is that your body heat will draw lanolin in there. See that? Make sure you get up there good in the thumb and the palm and the finger area, because, you know, of course, that's where you're going to encounter a lot of your most wet stuff, you know. Of course, you want to treat the leather on the palms of your flyer's mitts, if that's what you got, and that's what this person has, and I have this same setup myself. This is what I use, and I like it. I mean, if you have a different setup, you know, totally up to you. I mean, but this is about the wool. You know, this is about the wool. So if my hand can take this heat blowing on there, it's not too warm. All right, it's not over warm. You can do this with a wool blanket if you want, or you can do it with your wool anorak, wool jumper, sweater, okay, whatever you like to call it. Now remember those old fisherman sweaters? Oh yeah, this is for the worst weather, blah blah blah. I talked about this before. That's because they used raw wool. They didn't scour the wool and take all the lanolin out. That's why the fishermen loved those heavy wool garments like that were they weren't changed for the mass market. You know, they weren't for the mass market, those garments. Those were for the fishermen to protect them and out on the sea. So the mass market, you know, they don't want this wool that smells kind of like farm animals and stuff. They want a nice, clean piece of material that's, you know, feels nice in the hand and on your chin and everything, and you know, all mollycoddled, right? But this is the way to do it, guys. I mean, if you want to turn your wool into the what it really should be, you know, into the kind of fabric that it should be, then you definitely need to re-lanolize your wool. Now when I'm done, this intermittent will be much more resistant to absorbing water, which is what you want. You don't want to give up 20% of your insulating value of your wool to water. It also, water will make your wool heavier, right? We all know that. So if the water doesn't go in, you follow me? Does that make sense? If the water doesn't go in, then we don't lose our insulating value at all, and we're more comfortable. Alright guys, I'm going to leave this at that. You can see that most of that lanolin is in there now. I'm going to finish this up. Do this to your sweaters and whatever, but remember, if you're allergic to lanolin, which means you break out in a rash, then you shouldn't do this. Probably shouldn't be using wool, okay, if you're allergic to lanolin. By the way, you can see that this is, you know, this is where I work in my bathroom. I mean, I got bottles of alcohol over there. Not drinking alcohol, that's rubbing alcohol, but, you know. Yeah, that's for the alcohol stove. So, yeah, catch you later.